Firstly, I just wondered, do you have any update at all on the manhunt, right? Because these two guys are now being searched for.
So the Met Police have put out a public appeal for the two individuals. They are urging anyone with information, if they spot them, to come forward and report that to the police. We're having active updates from the Met Police, but as of yet, no.
OK, because, of course, one of the guys had a 6-day head start on the police, of course. Now, look, we've spoken before. I know how much you care about violence about women and girls. And here you've got a sex offender just released from prison by mistake, and no one even realises for 6 days.
Look, I'm totally furious, and I share the anger and frustration that you, the public, will obviously feel at this. It's unacceptable. Any mistaken release from prison is unacceptable. That's why we are trying to get to the bottom of this. It's why we've tasked Damien Owens to do this rapid review to look at what happened. I can announce today that we're going to be bringing in a crack team of tech experts to help the prison service, these brilliant men and women working on the ground in the most really difficult of situations. They're still in a paper-based system in 2025, trying to do a brilliant job in really tough circumstances in a prison system that is in crisis. And it isn't acceptable, and it's not going to be fixed overnight. But we do need to take steps to address it.
What's the tech expert? What are they doing? What does that mean?
So what they're going to do is come in using some tech-facilitated capabilities, this really clever sort of new technology to try and help process the reams and reams and boxes of papers that our brilliant prison staff are having to work through every single day. So bringing them up to date.
So it's basically just like trying to get the system online, digitise it.
It's trying to digitise the system, but then also bringing in some checks and balances to try and help them when they are going through this mountain of paperwork. So by using the technology to try and figure this out, to stop the errors that we're seeing, such as individuals with the same surname or individuals with many aliases being released in error, just trying to get to grips with this, Kate, as an interim measure until we can properly identify the problems that Damien Owens will hopefully come forward and address, and until we can see the benefits of the measures we've been putting in place, like building new prisons, investing in our prison system. But that isn't going to happen overnight.
262 prisoners were let free by mistake in the last year. I mean, this blows my mind. This is happening all the time.
It's shocking, it's unacceptable, and any prisoner released in error is one too many. But I just want to sort of stress to the British public that we release prisoners every single day in this country routinely. That is meant to happen. At present, it's about a 0.2% error rate. At the height
262.
At the height of the last previous government, before they left office, it was 17 a month. That even one is unacceptable.
It's
but
going up.
It speaks to the issue in our prisons. It speaks to the issue in our prisons.
It's going up there as well, isn't it? Right? It's a 128% increase from the previous year.
It is.
Now, this is the other thing that gets me right. This has happened less than 2 weeks after Hadush Kabatu was released by mistake, another illegal immigrant, another sex offender. And then, in the wake of that, David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, said that Labour was then introducing the toughest checks we've ever had. 2 days after those checks were introduced, we've had another 2 people let free. What are these checks? They can't be fit for purpose, can they?
So what we're doing is we've got 3 new measures that we're introducing, and I recognise that this is totally unacceptable. We've called an urgent meeting of all of the governors in England and Wales today to bring them in, to talk to them exactly about how we can fix this on the ground.
What are the toughest checks we've ever had that allow these 2 people to be introduced, even though they're so tough?
We've got Damien Owens doing this rapid review to come and address this. But as you've said, this speaks to the problem we've got. These are reams and reams of paper that individuals are working through. This is what I can't get my head. You said you're introducing these new tough checks. Correct? Yes.
And those were introduced before these guys were released by mistake?
Well, we know the details are still emerging as to when exactly these errors occurred. Again, this will be part of our rapid review. But what we need here is we've got to get to grips with the problem.
What are these tough checks that were supposed to be introduced?
So this is about working together, working with the governors, helping the extra staff, making sure that they feel supported, because they are working in a chronic...
To be honest.
But they didn't exist. They didn't exist previously. But what we're doing is...
Does it sound like they exist now, is what I mean?
We are bringing them in. We're working with the governors directly. We're bringing in these tech experts. But ultimately, this isn't going to be fixed overnight. We've got to build more prison places.
You understand what I'm saying about the timeline here? Yes. You can't stand up and say, we're introducing the toughest checks we've ever had, and then 2 days later, oh, yeah, another illegal immigrant sex offenders being released. That's appalling, isn't it?
Well, what we need to do is to get to grips with the issue, and that's what we're doing. That is what we're doing today. We're bringing in the governors, bringing in Dame Lynn Owens, making sure that we've got these tech experts helping our brilliant men and women in the prison service to get to grips with this. But ultimately, it isn't going to be fixed overnight. We've got to build more prison places. We've got to invest in our public services. 14 years of austerity have done us no favours. It's not just our NHS that's struggling out for more support. It's our prison service. It's our education. And we can't fix it overnight. But we can put in some interim measures to try and make this a better situation for the British public until we get to build these more prisons that we need.
David Lammy was asked 5 times at Prime Minister's questions yesterday about whether it was true a prisoner had been released by mistake. Why didn't he be transparent then?
So I think it's really important to note that there is a proper way of doing things here. Nobody wants to mislead the public. Nobody wants to misrepresent information, and facts matter, especially when we're talking about prisoner inadvertent releases and the details of which could be subject to a live police investigation. What's important to note is that as soon as all the facts were available and the immigration status of the individual was confirmed by the Home Office, a statement was made by the Deputy Prime Minister.
You can see, though, that it looks like you aren't being honest with the public when the Justice Secretary stands there and 5 times declines to say that it is true that someone has been released mistakenly from prison again. At one point, he told James Cartledge to get a grip. What's
important is that all the facts are established first, because we know in a world of social media, there's misinformation, disinformation, and anything could have happened. We needed to establish all of the facts in order to reassure the public and reassure victims who are at the heart of all this.
You knew
that what exactly had happened.
You knew at that point that 2 prisoners, including an illegal immigrant who's a sex offender, had been mistakenly released.
No, we didn't know all of those facts, and I think it's important to point that out.
What did you know at that point then?
We knew that there had been an issue at HMP at Wandsworth. The police were investigating and were due to be making a statement. The Home Office were trying to ascertain certain facts, and it's important that there is a proper way of doing things as to not mislead the public and as to not to inadvertently provide any mis or disinformation.
Why didn't you just say that then? Because when you say it like that, that sounds reasonable, but that's not what David Lammy did, is it?
We were waiting for all of the facts to be established.
OK, thank you very much indeed. Good to have you on the programme today.